CJSW presents Body Slam Poetry, an 8-part podcast series about Calgary and Alberta's wrestling legacy in the current independent scene. Ava Lawless is a rising star in the Calgary wrestling scene. She's a former RCW Women's Champion and has wrestled for countless other indies in Western Canada and in Seattle's Defy, which in my opinion is one of the top independent promotions in North America. She's doing great, only 3 or so years into her career. The part of Ava Lawless you don't see between the bell ringing inside the square circle is the daily grind.
Oh my god, that is such a world that I wish people understood. Like, just the general grind. Like, I'm up, like, basically before 6 every morning to go to the gym, and then I'm going to my real job, and then I have to go home and do all my laundry from working out and wrestling and the road and everything, right? And then I have to go to shows, and you gotta do ring crew, and you gotta do merch, and you gotta, plan a match, and then you're repeating that twice, sometimes 3 times a week, and then I'm right back in the office the next day. So, yeah, the grind never stops.
Episode 5, Why Get Into Wrestling? So you've heard my story of how I got into pro wrestling on episode 1 of Body Slam Poetry. How about everyone else? Here's Ava Lawless again.
I think growing up, I grew up in the Attitude Era, and my brother was definitely the one who was watching wrestling the most. My whole family was, really, but because I lived with him, I followed him around and I watched everything he watched. I listened to everything he listened to. So, DX was pretty big, so he was telling people to suck it. So I was going around telling people to suck it. So I think I got into it because of my brother. I started watching, and the characters were interesting, the action was interesting, and then I was the one that ended up loving it the most in the long run.
That's how it often is with siblings. Your cool older sibling influences what you get into. You get their record collection, the movies they're into. This is what I'm told anyway, as I'm an only child. Ben, it's not about you. Moving on. More often than not, you hear from people that pro wrestling hooked them at an early impressionable age. Another form of entertainment that you hear that about, or getting into a thing at an early age often leads into lifelong fandom, is the world of comic books and superheroes. Calgary wrestling historian Heath McCoy, author of the definitive book on Stampede Wrestling titled Pain and Passion, had this to say about his earliest memories.
I was I was not a sporty kid at all, actually. I was a pretty nerdy little comic book kid. And to me, these guys were real life superheroes and supervillains. They really did. I used to draw my own little comic books, and then after I got into Stampede Wrestling for a while there, I would draw my own wrestling programs with my own fictional wrestlers and stuff, because these guys were like, the Dynamite Kid was in his prime, was like watching Spider-Man. Like he was cut, he was but not overly huge at that point there. He wasn't like juiced up or anything, but he had this amazing physique, good looking guy, and he was I'd never seen anybody move in the ring with that intensity, that agility, that kind of high flying thing. So and the Hearts were like that, and then the villains, the evil villains, J.R. Foley and his army, Bad News Allen and these guys.
Yeah. The correlation between superheroes and pro wrestling is very evident once you think about it. And you wonder why wrestlers like Dave Bautista and John Cena would later be cast as actual Marvel and DC superheroes. If you were casting one of the boatload of superhero movies being made nowadays, why wouldn't you think of a pro wrestler first? They live that Clark Kent lifestyle on the reg. I talked to Zachary McKendrick, an academic who used to be a pro wrestler. He had a viewing party for WWE's Royal Rumble this past year. Royal Rumble being one of the big 3 pay-per-views, or premium live events to use the new terminology, WWE puts on every year, along with WrestleMania and SummerSlam.
It was my birthday last week, and for my birthday every year I do Royal Rumble, because it's like a couple of days apart, and I love it. And this year I invited a bunch of friends over. And I come from a theater department, and a theater background. And so I had a bunch of theater people come over and watch wrestling and watch the Royal Rumble. And one of them just kind of blurted out loud during, what was it? I think it was the Bray Wyatt and LA Knight
The
match.
Mountain Dew Pitch Black match.
Which but yeah, they turned during the middle of the match and they're like, oh, it's Greek theater,
Right.
like that's all it is. And then later during the Kevin Owens match, as soon as the chair entered the ring, someone turned and was like, oh, it's Chekhov's chair. It has to be used. It's been introduced. And I was like, my heart felt so full.
Zachary's theater department friends are on the right track, as it truly is theater in an athletic context. Zachary continued.
And it harkens back to, like my friend pointed out, to the stories of old and to Greek theater and to stories of the gods. And I mean, this is Roland Barthes, the philosopher, talks about this, right? But it's giants among men, and it's morality tales. You know what I mean? Like, the Undertaker isn't just the Undertaker. The Undertaker symbolizes like death and mortality. So all of a sudden, Shawn Michaels going career versus career becomes about a guy battling his own mortality and having to face that and unable to accept it. And like, how do you, like, for real? And it's in such a binary, right? Like, who's the good guy? Who's the bad guy? Well, typically your good guy, it's old Western, right? Your good guy is wearing the white hat and your bad guy's wearing the black hat. You look at the trunks. Who's wearing the lighter colors? Great, that's your good guy.
As Zachary brought up, the French theorist Roland Barthes wrote an essay in 1972 titled The World of Wrestling, in which he called pro wrestling, quote, the pure gesture which separates good from evil, end quote. I read about it in a media theory class a few years back, when while I'm too much of a Joe Lunchpail to grasp some of the language Barthes used, it's nice to know an egghead like Barthes, which I use as a term of endearment, by the way, saw the appeal of pro wrestling, and I'm sure if Barthes lived to see the Shawn Michaels versus Undertaker match from WrestleMania 25 in 2009, that Zachary reference, where those ideas of good versus evil truly were brought to life in a football stadium of over 70,000 people, he would have shed a tear.
It is, wrestling is the most incredible art form because it has the most direct connection to your audience, in a way that like live music does. But it's like doing an action movie or a kung fu movie in front of a live audience. When Edge came back the first time,
Yeah.
I cried like a baby. I was at the Palomino and I was watching, like, first time watching Rumble in forever. And he came back and I shot up out of my seat. I scared the crap out of my friends that were there with me, and I cried because this is a guy who, like, his career was over. And Edge isn't a guy that, like, I'm just a wrestler, that's all I am. He had other things, right? Acting, writing, tons of like, he was a judge for Canada Reads at one point, right? Like, he's got stuff that's out there, but you take wrestling away from him and you could see how much it hurt him.
Toronto-based wrestler Edge, not to be confused with The Edge, the beanie-wearing guitar player from U2, announced his retirement from pro wrestling on April 11th, 2011, in a very emotional promo. In the interim, as Zachary said, he acted in shows like filmed in Nova Scotia's sci-fi series Haven, and many other side projects that he kept himself busy with, but weren't his true burning passion. As Zachary referenced, Edge made his return to the ring on January 26, 2020 at the WWE Royal Rumble. And the explosion of positivity that radiated in the stadium and at home, at places like our beloved Palomino Smokehouse, it shows how much we deeply care about these pro wrestlers and how much pro wrestling means to them. I talked to Otto Gentile and Ed Anderson of Can-Am Wrestling, which they founded in 1996 in Calgary. What does Can-Am stand for, and what was its origin story? Here's Otto.
So what we created was an acronym for Can-Am Wrestling. And it's constantly against narcotic and alcohol misuse. And what we used that acronym with was getting into First Nation communities back in '96 that had a lot of problems with alcohol, drugs, coping with bullying. The real bad one back then was huffing gas, if you remember that. So we went to all these communities trying to get in there to do a drug and alcohol workshop. And then what we did is presented the show as kind of like a reward for sitting and listening to us.
Can-Am works with plenty of local charities and helps support the community. Most recently, they were helping a young boy named Colin Brown.
The last one we just did out of Okotoks, there was a 4-year-old boy named Colin Brown that suffers from many different situations in his life that makes it very difficult for this young man. So we were approached by the Okotoks Elks Hall that were doing a dinner for him to try and raise money, and they asked us if there's anything we could do, so we said hell yeah, we could do that. And we are still presently trying to raise money for him, but I'm happy to announce that we raised $1,000 for him on October the 3rd, and that is going towards his service dog, which is through Aspen Service Dogs, I believe it is. They're trying to get the dog from this group of people that are absolutely amazing. And that's the one that has actually tugged at the heartstrings, because the kid is so awesome and he's so innocent, like to be given all these obstacles and situations that he has to deal with. I think anybody would help this young man to try and achieve the goal that he needs.
I share this story that Otto told me in this episode, as I think it's worth shining a light on the good that wrestling promotions like Can-Am do for the community. Colin Brown is a young wrestling fan, and the fact that the promotion Can-Am would have fundraisers to help him out could not be more lovely. Otto also launched the Alberta Wrestling Academy, which was a dream project, but had difficulties which he'll discuss here.
The Alberta Wrestling Academy was a 20-year dream in the making. My first partners were Steve Wild, Steve Hurley, and myself. We wanted to create a place where we could create our own superstars. And it didn't come to fruition with that when we went from 96 to 2003, where we shut the doors down. And then we opened the school in 2020, October 3rd, in the middle of the damn pandemic. Now, to say that it was difficult would be an exaggeration. It was more than just difficult to stay alive, open, come up with ideas to keep all these guys invested that were getting down, because the school would open, close, open, close, open, close, right? So as soon as we opened our doors, we had a grand opening. We had over 300 people there, all safely distanced if there's anybody out there that wants to know. Anyway, we had 300 people there. We put on a little bit of a show. Yep. We gave away 2 scholarships to kids that we thought deserved it. And what we stated in our mission statement, it was that we were going to work with kids, youth that have problems, whether it be disabilities, whether it be drugs and alcohol, whatever it may be. We were going to help them, even if they had disabilities or the alcohol and drug problem, get them focused in a direction where they could actually have a second chance at life through professional wrestling. And that's what our school is still about. We do work with a lot of kids that do have problems, but also comes a lot of problems, because sometimes, you get somebody that just you can't help. And that's the frustrating part. We want to help everybody, but it just doesn't work out that way sometimes, and we try to do the best we can.
In our next episode of Body Slam Poetry, titled Living the Gimmick, Otto will share stories of some of the favorite gimmicks that came through the Alberta Wrestling Academy, so stay tuned for that. One of the most encouraging changes in the modern wrestling landscape has been the rise of women's wrestling. Pro wrestling has historically been a male-dominated field, and women have had to really fight to get higher spots on the card, even getting their matches cut from the show as they are in their gear, like what happened to Brie Bella and Naomi at WrestleMania 29. It's a true insult. Thankfully, those days look to be behind us, as women are often main eventing major promotions now, and some of the best and most talked about matches of the modern era have been women's matches, most famously Sasha Banks vs. Bayley at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn in 2015. This is what Calgary's own Ava Lawless had to say about the rise of women's wrestling since she has started.
Yeah, I'm really thankful for it because definitely when I wanted to get into wrestling, it seemed like the schools were primarily attended by males, and the women didn't have as dominant of a spot. And sometimes you will run into circumstances that give you a harsh reminder that I am a woman in wrestling. But then at the same time, I've main evented shows with other women, and I think I have one of the most powerful connections with the audience, at least here in Calgary, and I'm just I don't take that for granted.
As someone who has seen Ava Lawless multiple times live at this point, I can attest that few wrestlers on the current Calgary indie scene have a stronger connection to the crowd than Ava does. At the last RFCW show I saw, there was a little girl in the front row there, specifically for Ava, which really warmed my heart to see and proves that there's nothing like the connection a pro wrestler has with their fans. For the non-wrestling fan in your life, or maybe you, the listener, are that person, what's the best way to sell someone to go to a show? Here's Calgary's own Raj Singh.
But what I do when I get people to come, yo, you guys want to be entertained?
Yeah.
Do you guys want to have a good night out? You want to have a good date night? You want to have a good family time with the kids? It's definitely a show you'll enjoy. Yeah. And I tell them to take it with a grain of salt, because there's characters. You may not like the guy that's, vicious and violent, or you may not like the guy that's all flamboyant and dancy and prancy, but there's going to be people that do like each. And then there's gimmicks and characters, and it's literally live theater. Mm-hmm. With us taking our own stunts.
Yeah.
But then we do the crowd interaction.
Yeah.
If people ever come to watch me at a show, I'm all over the crowd. It's like a stand-up comedy skit for mine involved in that show. When you have a Cirque du Soleil aspect to it, then you have two other guys doing some gymnastic stuff, and you have some other guys doing some street fighting. So it's all cool.
The variety show aspect of pro wrestling really is key. As if every match was at the same intense grudge match style, it would lose its impact. Just as if every match was a comedy match. You need both sides of a well-rounded, fun wrestling show. When you attend a wrestling show, though, here's a tip from Raj to you.
And one of the things, too, for anybody that's listening, if you guys are at a show and, you're watching wrestling, cheer, boo, do whatever you want. But I notice what happens in Calgary especially, it's the wrestling fans don't really want to cheer until the next person beside them does it. So nobody wants to be that first person.
Too polite or something.
I think it's just, I don't know, maybe the fans are embarrassed, but you can't be more embarrassed than the guy that's in the ring in literally leggings or swimming pants, half naked, fake fighting, simulated fighting.
1,000,000%.
So the fans, when the fans get rocking and the fans are really loud or they're booing then the wrestlers do that much better.
I can't say any better than Raj did. There's nothing better than being in a packed crowd reacting to a match, but if you want the wrestlers to perform at a higher level, they need you. It's the give and take relationship that makes pro wrestling so unique. I talked with Carlin Blackrabbit, a member of the hardcore bands No More Moments and Iron Tusk, based out of Siksika Nation. We'll get more into his story in episode 7, talking about the punk and wrestling connection, but one story from his growing up as a wrestling fan really jumped out to me.
I find how I make connections with people, and I've made the best of friends through wrestling, just because you're out in public wearing a wrestling shirt. You'll get a too sweet from someone, or just you can break the ice really easily with a stranger just by talking wrestling. And that's how I made a lot of friends. So wearing a wrestling shirt on stage, someone will come talk to me hey, you like wrestling? I like wrestling.
Find the real heads.
And then they start quizzing you, or you start going back on something.
Yeah.
It's just that's the best thing ever. And I don't know, like for
Like
me,
a secret club.
yeah, and you know what's really weird too is like I find there's a lot of people that are like, I don't want to say, well, I'll say it, they're like kind of embarrassed to watch wrestling because I don't know about you, but as a kid I got made fun of for watching wrestling.
Yeah.
And the whole it's fake story, like all that stuff, and I'm like, I'm over that. I don't want to hear that anymore. Like, you can like hockey, you can like basketball. Let me like wrestling. Like that's just let me like what I like, you know. So I'm at that age now where I'm like, I don't care what people say about wrestling.
I agree. I agree.
And there's people out there who got bullied because of it. And
I know.
I got bullied as a kid for liking wrestling.
No.
And I mean, I still buy belts and I still
Yeah.
buy all the memorabilia.
Of course.
But like that's how I met a lot of people, like a lot of friends, and like there's a lot of musicians that are big wrestling fans, you know.
Carlin spoke a lot of truth there, but I have to say the tide seems to be turning. To use the early comparison to superhero movies and comic books might have been seen as a niche thing, but now superhero movies are the most popular form of entertainment being made, with even lower tier, lesser known heroes like Booster Gold from DC being announced for full-fledged feature films. In pro wrestling, you have LeBron James wearing NWO shirts. You have 21 Savage, Offset, and Metro Boomin coming up with a song titled Ric Flair Drip, where they get the real Ric Flair to appear in the video. And the biggest example in recent years to me is how Bad Bunny, Spotify's #1 artist worldwide for 2 years in a row, put in the hours of time and effort to become a full-fledged WWE wrestler, where he won the WWE 24/7 Championship, which he proudly displayed when he appeared as a musical guest on Saturday Night Live all of 5 days after he won. And in the culmination of Bad Bunny's WWE journey, he wrestled in a universally praised match at WrestleMania 37 in 2021. Bad Bunny doesn't need this. Offset from the Migos doesn't need to make a song about how cool Ric Flair is, but it's what they are fans of. And as a lifelong wrestling fan, I'm happy to see the tide turning, and I hope we never bully people for wearing wrestling shirts again. As if you want to bully someone for doing that, you might as well bully LeBron James. And do you want to bully LeBron? Exactly.
This is Jed, your wrestling term tour guide. I'm here to explain some wrestling terms that you are hearing throughout the series to tell you what they mean. Let's begin by explaining the difference between face and heel. Face, a wrestler who is perceived as heroic and is cheered on by fans. Faces will commonly perform against heels, can also be called babyface. Face in peril. In a tag team match, it is used to describe the member of the face team who is being dominated by the heel team for the majority of the match. This can be used to get the crowd to cheer for the face team, often followed up with a hot tag. Now, a hot tag is when a face's partner is tagged into a tag team match, usually followed by the freshly tagged team member getting in a quick burst of offense. The hot tag is often teased by the other face being enticed into the ring. Heel, the opposite of face, a wrestler who is perceived as villainous and is booed by fans. Heels will commonly perform against faces. Tweener, neither a face nor a heel, but a morally ambiguous wrestler, may be used to describe a face who is booed or a heel who is cheered. Now you may be wondering to yourself, how is the world of wrestling set up? Well, I'm glad you asked. Let us start with kayfabe. It is the presentation of professional wrestling as entirely legitimate or unscripted. This idea was maintained until the mid-1980s. Next, we move on to work. It is used to refer to any of the planned actions that take place during a match. When used as a verb, work can refer to a planned attack of a single body part throughout the entire duration of a match, or to deceive the audience to elicit a desired response. No sell, when a wrestler shows no reaction to their opponent's moves. Generally, this is worked as a part of kayfabe, but some wrestlers have been known to do this off script, also known as shoot, no sell. Angle. the fictional storyline used to create tension between two wrestlers. The angle may be in effect for a single match or may be carried on for years. It is also possible for an angle to be revised if the storyline is not going over well with fans or if one of the wrestlers involved is fired. Shoot. This is when a wrestler intentionally goes off script. This can include making unplanned comments or attacks. May be referred to as breaking kayfabe. Our next word is worked shoot. This is when a wrestler seemingly goes off script, often revealing something that is not part of the angle, but is actually doing so as a planned part of the show. Now let's move into the wrestling terms for blood. Your first word is blading. It is intentionally cutting oneself to induce bleeding. This is often done well into the match so the blood mixes with the sweat, making it look like the wrestler is bleeding more than they actually are. It can also be called juicing, giggling, or getting color. Now, if bleeding is unplanned, it is also called juicing the hard way. If the object is used to provoke the bleeding, it is called a blade, and the act of blading is called a blade job. Your next word is bust open. This term is used when a wrestler starts to bleed. This can either be intentional or unintentional. Next after that is hard way, when a wrestler draws blood by any means other than blading. Usually this is from a legitimate strike or potato. And if you're wondering what potato means, it means a move, generally a strike, that actually hurts the recipient. Now, what are some of the terms for crowd interactions? Let me tell ya. Your first word is pop. It is a term used to describe positive crowd reactions, such as cheering. Your next word is heat, a term used for negative crowd reactions, such as booing or real-life tension between wrestlers. After that is cheap heat. This is when a wrestler purposely garners a negative reaction from the crowd, usually by insulting them. This can be done by bringing up something that is unrelated to wrestling but can insult the crowd en masse. For example, mocking the town's local sports team. And next is cheap pop. It is the opposite of cheap heat. It is inciting a positive reaction from the crowd by sucking up to them. This can be achieved by saying something complimentary about the given city or town. And finally, a promo. This is an interview or a monologue given by a wrestler in character, often seen as an in-ring or backstage interview or skit used to advance a storyline or feud. Now, it is meant to promote an upcoming show or future segment of a show. Performing a promo is referred to as cutting or cutting a promo. When the promo is targeted at a specific opponent, it is said to be a cut on the target. That is all for this edition. Stay tuned for the next episode when I explore some more wrestling terms. This has been Jed from Body Slam Poetry. Thank you for listening.
Thanks for listening to Body Slam Poetry. This episode was written and produced by Ben Goodman. Assistant producer Sophie Chardon. Edited by Jed Mabaza. And music by Grayscreen. Stay tuned for episode 6, Living the Gimmick.
This initiative is made possible by the Community Radio Fund of Canada.